All right, everybody, we're back again, and it's Wednesday. It's already Wednesday in the week here, so we're kind of partway through the week here, and I was kind of waiting to see if there was going to be an update, last minute category update on the Golden Globes here to see, like, okay, is anybody switching from comedy musical to drama or vice versa? And it seems at this point I haven't heard anything. So it seems like everything is going to stick the way it is, but I don't know. I mean, this is... I don't know. I feel like there's going to be something last minute here, but yeah, we're basically... just today we're going to talk about the Golden Globes. These could stand as final predictions, so in case there is no last-second changes, I'm going to stick with what I have here. If we do get last-second changes for what film is in which category, or if for whatever weird reason somebody who we think is in the supporting categories gets promoted to a lead for some reason, or gets submitted in lead for some reason, and we don't hear about it till tomorrow or Friday or something, then okay, I might come back on Saturday or Sunday, more likely Sunday, and do some final predictions. But otherwise, I think I'm going to stand with what I have today and go with that. Okay, and then also, while we get into it here, I will talk a little bit about the reactions, because we did have our first, I don't know if it was a wave, but certainly we had our first screening, or two, of Avatar: The Way of Water, which is, I don't know, we'll have to see, because, yeah, we'll get into that. Okay, so with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. So we do have... a few categories that I have not predicted yet here at the Globes. The first one would be the international film category. And traditionally, the Globes, they'll pick like maybe one or two outsiders that, either are not submitted for Academy Awards contention by their respective country, or their country picks another film, that year or whatever, and they'll pick traditional favorites. And they might even pick one or two films that are in a foreign language that are kind of like The Farewell, or films like that are not eligible for international feature at the Oscars, but they'll nominate them anyways. And my list here is pretty much the ones that people have heard of or have talked about. So that's All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, The Quiet Girl, Saint Omer, and Decision to Leave are my five. Generally speaking, you can go with Argentina 1985, which some people have really talked about as being an outside shot there. Generally speaking, though, as far as who's going to win this at the Oscars, we haven't really talked about that from the Oscar level either. It feels like it's going to be either All Quiet on the Western Front just outright, or something like The Quiet Girl could sneak up and surprise some voters. And it could be one of those, because right now I know IndieWire doesn't have it very high on their list, but I forget who is this one person, or is this the group? I forget that predicts this. Ann Thompson and Eric Cohn. Okay, so you have a couple people placing these. Both of them have it pretty low on their list. This kind of feels, just from what I've heard about the film, not that it's, like the happiest of subject matters, if I'm remembering it right, but it seems like it's one like that Yak in the Classroom from a year or two ago, where it's like, hey, if the title just, sticks out to enough people and they watch it, it could be just enough people in that respective branch vote for it, and it could surprise us and get in, and from there we'll see if it can gain any momentum. But otherwise, it really feels like All Quiet on the Western Front's to lose at this point. Return to Seoul's another one I've heard nothing but good stuff about. Joyland, I've heard a couple good things about. EO is one that IndieWire really highlighted here as one that has a good shot, if people see it. And generally, I feel like that covers it just from what I know here for international feature. Again, we haven't talked very much about that at the Oscars either, but yeah, seemingly All Quiet on the Western Front is also going to do very well there at the Oscars. For the two music categories here at the Globes, I'm just going with the five I put in last time for the Oscars for now, just to kind of be safe at the Globes here. So that's Lift Me Up from Black Panther, Nobody Like You from Turning Red, Vegas from Elvis, Hold My Hand from Top Gun, and Stand Up from Till. And yeah, I mean, you can really name like all the ones that we named last time, like the one from Where the Crawdads Sing, or there's a song from Bones and All, a song from Pinocchio. Possibly there's one or two contenders from Bros that, you know, could come in. And again, we'll see how Bros does, generally speaking, when we get to those comedy musical categories. But yeah. Then for the score category here at the Globes, I feel like they usually go, you know, consensus picks up to that point, and then they go with one weird, unexpected outside contender. My 5 are The Fabelmans, Babylon, Avatar, The Way of Water, Women Talking, and that for that kind of weird pick, I'm going Bones and All. It's Atticus Ross, or am I getting his name right? Their names right this time? The guys who the guys who did like the Social Network score and work with Fincher a lot. They also have the score for Empire of Light, so that one could also get in. The Woman King could be a nominee here. Tar could also get in. Both Tar and Women Talking are Hildur, who's back in after her win a couple years ago, 3 years ago now, for Joker. Banshees is one that could easily get in here. Black Panther could get in at the Globes as well. Yeah, I feel like that's generally where that one's at for now. So that should do it for that list. For animated feature here at the Globes, I think I'm going with these same 5 at the Oscars here, at least at the moment I think I am. That's Pinocchio, Turning Red, Strange World, My Father's Dragon, and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And generally speaking, I feel like Strange World and My Father's Dragon are the 2 vulnerable ones here. We could see the bad guys appear here. We could see Minions appear as well. Puss in Boots is a late entry here, but I don't know if this one's screened in time for the Globes. I'm sure there was a screening, but generally I don't know if, you know, this is their type of movie. I guess it could appear on us on Monday morning and be like, oh, okay, it did arrive after all, but we'll see. I'm sticking with my 5 for the screenplay category. That's Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Women Talking, Banshees, and Glass Onion. I feel like, generally speaking, after that it gets tough. Tar is probably the first one I would go with to be a spoiler here. And generally speaking, I feel Tar is going to have its place here at the Globes, but I don't see it being like another, actually, Cate Blanchett starring role, Carol. I don't see it being like a film like that maybe actually does better at the Globes, respectively, than it does eventually at the Oscars. Not to say that Tar is going to be bad at the Oscars. I think it's going to be fine. But yeah, I think that's generally that one. After that, it gets tougher and tougher for a lot of these films. Like we don't think Elvis is going to be in the screenplay category. We don't. She Said, I don't think is going to do extremely well here at the Globes. The Woman King, I don't see making it in for screenplay. Babylon could be tough, unless they just love it, like they did last year with a film that I thought might struggle with a few of those categories later on in the shows and stuff. But like, oh god, I can't even think of the name of it now. The Adam McKay one from last year, Don't Look Up. That one still got in for screenplay as I'm recalling here. So we'll see if Babylon is kind of this year's Don't Look Up, where, hey, it feels like it was kind of dragging right before the Globes, but then the Globes give it a big push back into the race there. Let's move on to the acting categories here. I feel like, generally speaking, in the acting categories, I really haven't done too many switches here. Because I still have Jessie Buckley and Claire Foy both getting in for Women Talking. It's a little risky there, I know. But I just don't know if I have the guts right now to pull the trigger on like a Jamie Lee Curtis or a Carey Mulligan here, or maybe even I don't know. There was one name that I saw and I was like, ooh, maybe, and they were way down the list here. But now I'm not even saying, they might have dropped even further on some of the odds lists here and stuff. But anyways, to the ones who are in, both of them from Women Talking for right now: Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Carrie Condon for Banshees, and Hong Chow for The Whale. And I think, again, Jamie Lee has to be my number 6 right now. I think she is very close. I'm not saying that there will be a tie and there's going to be 6 nominees in this category, but I feel at this rate, Especially, I feel like if one of the two contenders from Women Talking is going to fall out, Claire Foy probably would be the one. It's strange because Claire Foy, she gets in a few years ago for First Man, eventually doesn't get the Oscar nomination. But last year, Jessie Buckley kind of made a strong showing by the end and did end up with a BAFTA and an Oscar nomination for The Lost Daughter. So the Globes might be thinking more makeup, for that. Like, hey, we missed you in that one, even though we nominated your film for director and for screenplay and for actress, but we didn't nominate you. So this might be that's why I'm more confident that Jessie Buckley is going to be the one to get in over Claire Foy if they only pick one. And again, I think Jamie Lee would be the one to slide in and get that fifth slot, but or Carey Mulligan. But again, I don't know how well She Said is doing. Right now, actually, if I could, Carey Mulligan, I don't think she plays the same role by any means, but she kind of feels like that Annette Bening nomination here a few years ago for the Report, I think was the name of it. I didn't end up seeing it. I remember I had it out front for a little bit that year. I think that was 2018 or something, 2017. Or no, 2019. 2019, that's right. She was one that's like all in the early season we were like, hey, she's got a shot, and then she kind of started falling off further and further, but she still made it into the Globes. I feel like Carey Mulligan is possibly in a slot like that, where she could, definitely come through. That's why I have her in at SAG. I feel like SAG is a more likely place for her to land than the Globes. And that's, I don't know. It could be, too, since it is a press movie, it, generally speaking, it would normally have a better shot at the Globes, and I could be just dead wrong about that, and it could get in, but, yeah. Like I said, if I have another chance and I look this over again before Sunday, I might switch and go back to what I just said there and put Jamie Lee or Carey Mulligan in, but we'll see. In supporting actor, I feel like I've got the boring five that most everybody else has. That's Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Ben Whishaw, Women Talking, Paul Dano for The Fabelmans, Judd Hirsch also for The Fabelmans, and Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin. I'm just not... again, I've got my possible theory about Jeremy Strong getting in at SAG, and guess what? In between videos here, I pulled the trigger. I dropped Paul Dano at SAG, and I put in Jeremy Strong for now. I've got him in for now. Not to say that's going to stick until January, until we get to the SAG nominations, but that something just feels like that's going to happen. It's just a weird thing. SAG always throws one or two curveballs at us, so I feel like that's the one that's going to happen there. But back here at the Globes, I don't know which curveball fits the Globes. And it's like, if they have one. They kind of did last year when Ben Affleck got in for The Tender Bar, but he didn't hold a lot of traction the rest of the season there. If I remember right, he still got into the SAGs, or was that only Critics' Choice? One or the... I don't think he got in at all three. But, I don't know. Some people are saying, okay, if there is going to be a little, thing like that, look back to somebody who a lot of people touted early as a possible big contender. That's Woody Harrelson for Triangle of Sadness, which could end up, coming back and having an okay day here, and could end up getting possibly into one of those international feature foreign language film slots or whatever here at the Globes. It could. I think it would qualify, because I don't think it's all in English, if I've read correctly. I haven't gotten to that film, so I don't know. Others have said you've got somebody who's done pretty well with some of these indie spirits and stuff, or those type of awards. Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, which I'm not sure if that's on the Globes' radar in a big way. Another one that has been kind of a critical darling so far is Mark Rylance for Bones and All. And Bones and All, I've got it in for that score category, so that could be one that sneaks up on us and gets maybe one or two other things. But I'm just not seeing what else it's gonna come into. So yeah, so I'm going with the boring five, if you will. Okay, we'll go over to the ones who are currently in comedy musical category, lead actress, and I think I picked these five pretty much from the start. And I'm sticking with them. It's Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Margot Robbie for Babylon, Emma Thompson, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, or is it Grande? I'm not sure. Julia Roberts for Ticket to Paradise, and Leslie Manville for Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And yeah, again, I feel like that's the safe five. Keke Palmer, she did just have the SNL thing, so that could be a boost. I'm understanding why, I've seen a few more people uptick her name. And she had kind of I guess you'd call it a viral moment when she revealed her pregnancy and stuff too. That's really all the headlines I read after all through Sunday and parts of Monday was how cool that was and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know. Is that too late into the voting for the Globes voters to to push her in? It might happen. And we will see if Nope does, because again, that's one I haven't gotten to yet. We'll see if it sticks in this category. That's going to be the important part. If she goes over to the drama race, oof, that's a much steeper hill to climb, and I don't know if she can do it. Charbly Dean is one, a name I've actually seen pop up a lot more now. Again, Triangle of Sadness. We'll see if that is one that maybe the Globes do like better than some others. But other than that, yeah, I feel like we're kind of limited at those 7 or so contenders. In the actor category, Colin Farrell and Daniel Craig are the two for sures here. Colin for Banshees and Daniel Craig for Glass Onion. After that, it's a little mixed. And the other 3 contenders that I have in, they're on a little shakier ground. But again, I'm just not sure how stiff this competition is going to end up being. So the other 3 are Adam Driver for White Noise, George Clooney for Ticket to Paradise, and Billy Eichner for Bros. I still haven't heard, for Adam Sandler for Hustle. I don't think there's as much steam on that as some people are hyping up. Diego Calva for Babylon, we'll see, but relative newcomer, a film that could go either way with the Globes. So I'm just not extremely optimistic about that one landing the 6 or even 7, getting up to like 7 nominations like La La Land did. And otherwise, I think Daniel Kaluuya could pop back up if Nope does, get a little more traction here. One, I think I've mentioned it before, but Tom Hanks for A Man Called Otto. If that one, I haven't heard that there was a screening for that one in time for the Globes. And again, I'm sure they got something because it's in the time for the season and everything. And Hanks is a 10+ time nominee here at the Globes. He's definitely had a lot easier time getting in at the Globes than he does at the Oscars in some recent years. So that could be just one where it's like, hey, we don't want to go with Billy or we don't want to go with George Clooney again, so let's go with Tom Hanks. I can see that happening and not really question that too much. So we'll see what they do. Going over to the drama side for the acting categories. Drama actress, I have Cate Blanchett for Tar, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, Viola Davis for The Woman King, Olivia Colman for Empire of Light, and Danielle Deadwyler in for Till. And again, I feel like I've had these 5 for a while, and I'm just not 100% ready to say, okay, here comes somebody like Jennifer Lawrence for Causeway. Remember, the Globes love Jennifer Lawrence. She's been nominated here pretty much every time she's had a film in contention. I feel like she gets in. Let's see, Naomi Ackie for I Want to Dance with Somebody is, again, that's another one that's kind of late in the season, and I'm sure did have a screening, but we haven't heard way too much about how well that did with the Globe voters. We'll see if there's one I do want to talk about. I think we'll save this till the end, is Don't Worry Darling, Florence Pugh. I couldn't see Glass Onion, I'll tell you why, because we had some bad weather that day, and all of a sudden it was like, nope, I couldn't go. But over the weekend, I caught up with. I had time to watch one, and that was I looked and I was like, time wise, I only had one that would be 2 hours or less, and I picked Don't Worry, Darling, and yeah, that one is actually kind of an interesting one to talk about, I think. But man, though, she is damn good in that. Is she going to get in? I don't know. That it was very come and gone. All the publicity around the film, not so much about the film. I don't know. I just don't know if the Globe voters are going to touch that one or anyone else through the rest of the season. I don't know if anybody's going to touch that film. Though her performance, though, I think probably unfairly is probably not going to be judged very well through the rest of the season there. But yeah. So yeah, I feel like every once in a while this category does throw in somebody, and it's like, oh, I felt like, it's one that it's named, but it's not always like front of mind. We have somebody big miss. This, or sometimes on the actor category as well, like De Niro missing for The Irishman a couple years ago. That felt like, and we tried to explain it away, but eventually it's like, oh, it's just, it just didn't land. But anyways, speaking of actor drama, I feel like I'm going with the same 5 I had last time that we talked about this, and there's a couple here that I'm just shaking my head at and saying I just don't think they're going to happen, even though most everyone else is predicting them. Brendan Fraser for The Whale gets in, Hugh Jackman for The Son, Bill Nighy for Living, Austin Butler for Elvis, and Jeremy Pope for The Inspection are my 5. Again, I'm just going to get it wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick, I don't think is going to happen. Again, I think just enough of the old guard that is still in the Globes that, had to face the music with a lot of the stuff that happened, behind the scenes as far as their membership and its representation and stuff. A lot of them, I'm sure, still, in spite of all that, despite of all that humble soup they had to eat, I'm sure they didn't feel good about somebody as highbrow as Tom Cruise being so public with his dismissal of his 3 Golden Globe wins and saying, I forget the story if he threw them out or returned them to the Globes Association, the Foreign Press, Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Either way, I just don't think. I just don't think they're going to go for him. Will Smith for Emancipation. Emancipation is one the critics are not very high on it, but Will Smith, remember another film that critics weren't high on that he still got some praises for and still made it in at the Globes a few years ago was Concussion. So we'll see if that's the thing. Again, all the stuff that happened with the slap and everything at the Oscars and everything since, I still feel like in spite of that, that's going to be what people are going to talk about if Smith gets in. So the Globes are going to have a hard enough time as it is, just because of, again, everything that's happened in the last couple of years. They're going to have a hard enough time as it is. So I think in this case, not to say that nominating Will Smith is like the worst thing they could do. I haven't seen the film, obviously, yet. So I don't know. For all we know, Will Smith gives a better performance in this than he did in last year with King Richard or through his filmography. Better than Ali, better than, whatever. Name all the films he's done that he's gotten a lot of praise for. Maybe he does deliver as good a performance as ever. But I just feel like there's a possibility that nominating him puts a target on the Globes' back. Just because it's going to create some bad press, because some people are just going to not be happy with that. We'll see. And I think right now the Globes are trying to avoid as many potential scandals or targets on their back as possible. So that's why I have Will Smith missing here. Though I feel like, again, since that one is screening about the time that Globes voters are starting to wrap up their votes and everything, and generally speaking it's kind of come on in this way, he's starting to do press on it and everything about that time. That is easily one that I would say any other time I would have said, yep, I'm putting him in over Jeremy Pope or possibly even over Bill Nighy. But because I feel like I've got, in my rankings, I've got Austin Butler below Bill Nighy, but I'm changing that right now. I feel like he's, again, as long as Elvis sticks in this category, which everything I'm seeing says it will, I just think it's still going to have no problem getting him in. Otherwise, some people are still saying look out for Gabriel LaBelle for The Fabelmans, even though I think The Fabelmans is going to do extremely well here at Globes morning. That might be a stretch to get him in. Timothée Chalamet I had in for a while for Bones and All, but yeah, I feel like, again, that one has lost some steam. It hasn't done extremely well at the box office. Then again, almost nobody has when it comes to these limited releases and stuff. So, that's not, I don't think that's the ending argument for everything, but still, yeah. And I feel like they'll have a place for that film, and it might get, end up in one or two other potential categories there. Like I mentioned, Mark Rylance and the score. I don't know if that's the place for it. All right, let's move on to the directing category. And I did do a switch here. We've got Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Sarah Polley for Women Talking. I'm going James Cameron for Avatar, and Gina Prince Bythewood for The Woman King. Here's the thing. I might be just crazy and it might not happen, but the James Cameron thing, I'm convinced it's happening. And we'll get to Best Picture Drama here too, but I think it's very possible, because we did have Tuesday, we had the first screening or two that we know of Avatar: The Way of Water. And, with a lot of these early screenings, they do them all the time for comic book movies and some of those other films like that. Generally speaking, a lot of these social media reactions are people that just say, oh, it was the greatest thing ever. we can go back to film after film after film after film that had a mixed or negative reception, generally speaking, from its respective fan base. Films like Suicide Squad, both episodes 8 and 9 from Star Wars, a few of the recent Marvel films, maybe a couple DC films as well, more recently than Suicide Squad. Films where these the press people and some of these people that go to these early screenings, they come out and they hype the film up, and it was great. Some of them will say it's the next thing, the best thing since sliced bread, whatever. They'll just go over the fucking moon about how great this fucking film was, all blah blah blah, and all that stuff, just so they can get invited to the next screening. And then critics start weighing in. You're like, oh, okay. I think Eternals is maybe the one example in recent times. That or maybe It Chapter 2, where some of these early screenings happen for the social media people and some of the some press and everything. And it's like, oh, their reactions were pretty good. I liked it a lot. And then we see that some of the critics just don't like it. That being said, this is Avatar, and I feel like generally speaking, it's kind of cool to not like the first Avatar anymore, in the same way that it was cool after a while not to like Titanic, in the same way it was cool to not like, some of the other, biggest films and all that stuff. James Cameron in particular really has gotten quite a few of those in the past. But, man, the way some of these people talked about Avatar: The Way of Water, I swear I'm not just drinking the Kool-Aid on this. I feel like this could go over and people are going to get more excited about it. Not to say there isn't already enough excitement, because it is tracking somewhere between 150 and 175 million here next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. And that's in spite of the long run time. That's in spite of the fact that the first Avatar was 13 years ago now and stuff like that. I feel like in that screening, the press screening, if not just that one, I think this one screened in time for the Globes, and potentially only had kind of in the same way that we saw 5 years ago now with All the Money in the World. That one, it became kind of public knowledge, like in the 48 to 72 hours before the nominations came out. Hey, last minute, who was that one? Was that Sony? I think it was Sony. Sony got an exclusive viewing for the Globes voters. And what happened? We saw it pop up in director, lead actress, and supporting actor. It overperformed. Avatar, I feel like, could do that. And let's not forget, the first Avatar was not only a nominee at the Globes for several categories, it won director and it won picture drama. It went over very well with that Globes voters base at the time. Now, again, that is a different voting base. Excuse me. And this is the first time we're seeing such a large base. It is a different voting group. We'll have to see what they want to do. I am confident in my prediction of Gina Prince Bythewood Bythewood. I'm sorry, I keep mispronouncing her name. I am confident in her prediction. I feel like, again, we went through it last time. The Globes, they like getting 2 or more female directors in there, and I feel like The Woman King and Women Talking are 2 of those films that they're talking about this year. She said also has a chance to get in here for Maria Schrader, but I don't think there's as much steam on that one right now as the other 2. Yeah. So even if there was not and the reason I'm also sticking with James Cameron here, getting in and putting him in kind of last second here, I feel like even if that that one screening that a lot of the social media people and stuff went to, I feel like there was definitely Globe voters in there as well. I feel like that's something where it's like, hey, Disney and everybody, they're like, let's get a couple people in there for that as well. I think they're savvy about that. And don't forget, Disney overall is also seeing like Searchlight Pictures, and they're seeing not only the regular Disney stuff, but also everything that has to do with under the Fox umbrella now. So I don't know. I feel like that's something that's going to happen. So it might not end up happening, but I'm predicting it. We'll see. Again, that's for now. We'll see if I still have the stones to predict it here on later on in the week, if I have a chance to change anything. So my 5, though, when we get to the 2 top categories, that's picture, comedy, musical. Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Glass Onion, Babylon, and Triangle of Sadness are my 5. Look out for Bros. Look out for something like Matilda sneaking in last minute, since that is kind of a full-fledged musical. Since I have them in both the lead categories, look out for Ticket to Paradise to sneak in there and get a film slot. Nope could get some late traction and get in there. So there's a couple possibilities there. And on the film drama side, I have The Fabelmans, I have Women Talking, Top Gun Maverick, Tar, and I am putting in Avatar as well for Best Picture here. I have it butting out films like The Whale. I think Elvis is going to be close. The Woman King is going to be close. She Said could get in. That one I'm feeling a little less confident in. But, yeah, I feel like that's generally the list after that. So, yeah. So I guess really quick to end here, I can talk a little bit about Don't Worry, Darling. I won't get into the full spoiler details yet, because I think there are still some people that, even though it's been on streaming and stuff, I think HBO Max or whatever for a little while here, since it's through Warner Brothers, I think it's HBO Max. I did want to talk about it here, and this is a film, I saw it on Sunday, and now it's Wednesday, so I've had a few days to kind of think it over and, see, hey, what stuck out to me, what has not stuck out to me. And I think while I enjoyed, or while I was watching the film, I really actually was enjoying it. I was kind of caught up in the mystery of it, of, okay, is this, because it's kind of very much in the vein of something like Stepford Wives, where it's like, hey, everything is not as it seems, why is that, kind of thing. And, I don't know, it's only like 33 or 34% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I feel like I'm in that 33, 34%. I recommend this movie. I enjoyed it. I feel like I already praised Florence Pugh. She is phenomenal. I've said it to my friends. I've said it to I think other people. I might have said it on camera before, but she is, I think, right now in the MCU, the best actress they have working right now in the MCU. She's absolutely one of the most talented actresses out there. And aside from maybe Midsummer, which I wasn't particularly wowed by that performance. I know some people were. Every other time I've seen her in something, I'm like, she's one of the best parts of the movie. Absolutely. And this is no exception whatsoever. She is equal to the role that she's given. And similar to, I've said this a few years ago for Marriage Story and Adam Driver's performance, she goes through the ringer in this movie. She is expected to hit a ton of different emotions. And in particular, there's one kind of still shot where it starts back here and we kind of zoom in on her, and she does have to go through quite a bit in that scene. It's about right about the start of the third act, and she's sitting with Harry Styles, and Harry Styles is kind of just doing something, but whatever. It's like, obviously the focus is on her, because she's kind of, everything is kind of starting to go weird for her and everything at that point in the movie. And man, I was like, she's asked to do a lot in that scene, and not even in that scene. That scene is basically one shot, so it's like she's asked to do a lot in a single take. And again, a single take, I mean, obviously not that they only shot it once. That'd be incredible, but no, in one single shot, she's asked to do quite a bit. Through that scene, she's asked to do quite a bit. So yeah, you get what I mean. Speaking of Harry Styles, though, and I haven't seen him in much. Maybe Dunkirk and maybe he popped up in one or two other things. I think he left an impression on me this time. I'm like, okay, he can hang as an actor. I feel like he had a lot more to do in this, and he was equal to the role he was given. Generally speaking, the supporting cast was fine. No real standouts. Olivia Wilde, I think, directorially did a fine job with the film. Some of the cinematography was really great. Some of those like desert shots and stuff look really good. And everything, but I feel like her performance too actually didn't catch me off guard, because I know she's capable of being a very talented actress and everything, and capable of very good performances. But here I thought she was actually really good in her role as the kind of neighborly person, but also she has a couple darker moments here and there, and I was like, hey, she did good in that. As time has gone on after the film was over, there were a couple moments, even when we got to that third act, where it's like, okay, when some of the stuff starts to get revealed, then some of the illogical things, some of the plot holes, some of the questions really start coming up. And I did talk to one other person about the film. She had seen it not too long ago, I think. And I was like, okay, so how did this, why was this? Why wasn't this happening, this or here? Why is it only now that she's starting to pick up on this or that? It's like some of the mystery elements of the film. And both of us really couldn't answer that question. There's also, again, something that starts toward when we get to like the final, like basically the last reel of the film, when things start to happen, and everything. It's like, okay, it's like, wait, what? This? And there's a couple twists that happen, and it's like, okay, that wasn't really that they didn't really plot that out very well. Stuff like that. There's a couple moments here and there where it's like, okay, yeah. So I generally feel like the first half is stronger than the second half. The first half is doing a good job of building up the suspense, building up the mystery, trying to figure out what this is. What is this project that they're working on that Chris Pine is holding up and stuff. And generally speaking, my first guess is, I guess, technically correct. There is kind of more of a, another explanation that happens later. Not to say there's two explanations for what happens, but there's a general connotation that I picketed it as or pocketed the film as at first. And I'm like, okay, that's what this whole thing is. It's this. And I'm not even going to say it because it probably could give it away for some people. But anyways, or obviously it will give it away, but you get what I mean. Some people, I think, do want to be surprised when they see this film, so I'm not going to outright say it, but anyways, and generally speaking, I feel like it's a correct answer, but there's a more specific answer that happens later that's revealed. So, anyways, otherwise, I guess I don't have way too much else to say about it. It was entertaining as I was watching it. As time has gone on, again, some of those plot holes and some of those questions really start springing up, and you're like, okay, well, that in retrospect, yeah, that didn't really hold up. I feel like I'm at about a 7 out of 10. I was floating between a 6 and a 7 because I do feel like there's strong elements of the picture, definitely, especially around Pugh's performance as well. Hers being a highlight for sure. But again, some of those question marks and some of those decisions that happen when we get later into the film. There's one particular twist that happens again toward the start of that third act that is you can see coming a mile away, and maybe it's not supposed to be a huge twist, but it's a moment where you're like, yeah, we could generally see that coming. There's not enough playing around with like a particular character that makes it more surprising when X happens. Anyway, so. Yeah, I feel like that's generally about it for me. So again, I feel like unless there's some late-breaking news, we get the last second here in the next couple of days, we do get a surprise where it's like, hey, this is competing in a different category of the Globes. I'll come back, I'll regroup, and I'll re-examine everything, and I'll get everything in its proper place, category-wise and stuff. Otherwise, I will be doing live reactions on Monday. I will be uploading that as soon as I can. So there will be live reactions to that. There will not be live reactions, as there have not been the past couple of years, to the Critics' Choice, which is also next week. That's because I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and failed every time because they don't announce when they're doing it until like 2 seconds before, and it never works out. Plus, I don't predict them anyways because they could end up having 20 fucking nominees in each category and not tell anybody about it until they announce it. And it's like, what? I don't know. So, yeah, just Critics' Choice, we'll talk about it after the nominees are out, and we'll say, okay, cool, these 12 people got in. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I know the max they've gone, I think, recently is 8, but still, it's like, oh, come on. It's kind of like some of the categories in some of these other shows where it's like, okay, do you really need 10 nominees here, but only 4 nominees here, and so on and so forth? It's weird. It's weird how they do that stuff anymore. So, all right, that's enough for me. We will see you on Monday for sure. Otherwise, that will stand as my final predictions for the Globes.